Welcome to another episode of So in the Know. I'm your host, Sarah Ellis, and today I'm joined by Tori and Freya, interior design experts from Vesta. Now, I have to say, I'm somewhat jealous of their talents. They have a creative eye that can transform a completely blank space into a stylish, trendy room that's personal to you. Not only that, but they can even tune into the vibe of the area that you're moving to. So go grab a cuppa, sit back, let's get inspired with So in the Know. Welcome, Tori and Freya, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. So tell us a bit about Vesta. What is it that you do?
Yeah, sure. So Vesta is an interior design company, as you mentioned. We are primarily based in London, working sort of out of our office in London Bridge. We work on an array of different services. So that includes private residential design, commercial design, show homes, and all aspects of interiors really for the market.
So what is, just for the listeners in basic terms, what is interior design?
So interior design is bringing together essentially a blank canvas and creating a home out of it. So it's showing off a space, it's showing off the build, it's showing off an area, a development, and it's just making a space livable for the person inhabiting it or using it, or if we're working on a show home, for the greater reach for the development itself as well.
And what was it that inspired you both to get into interior design?
Oh, Tori, you go first.
So I always thought whenever I went into a space, whether it was a cafe, restaurant, bar, hotel especially actually, sort of where you feel comfortable, where you feel sort of energised, things you like to look at, things that you're drawn to, just really excited by different spaces and seeing how they connect to the areas they are, being inspired by new designs. It's really exciting. I think that's why I was drawn to interior design.
It was sort of a natural progression for me. So I started with textiles and fabrics, knew I was really excited by bringing different textures and materials and playing with different fabrics together, and then it kind of just transpired from there. So London is an amazing place for interiors, so having sort of seen it around different pockets of the world, knew that London really is one of the central hubs for interior design, and it's a great place to kind of get started and continue kind of a career in.
As I said sort of in the introduction, I'm super jealous of the talents and the skills that you've got. But where do you even begin when you're looking at trying to help someone create their own style that's personal to them?
There is an array of different areas you can look at now to kind of really help people bring that vision to fruition. So for us, really important aspects that we use are things like Pinterest, Instagram. You're almost flooded by vision, which I think sometimes can be the struggle for people, is you can pull from so many different styles, so many different eras, so many different places nowadays. Everything is so available. It's our job to then hone in and see that common thread. So I think a lot of what we do and a lot of our job is to notice maybe what is repeating through these images, what's repeating through what people like, what they already own, what they've already used to, the hotels they stay in. So you really have to dig down into almost the psyche and psychology of a person and what they're looking for from their home.
I suppose it's also about what's on trend, and as you know, trends evolve. But if you're buying a forever home, it could get quite costly, right? If you're constantly updating. So what advice would you give for someone who is buying their forever home?
To keep it into their personal style. Is that what you mean?
Keep it up with trends.
Keeping up with trends. Well, I think we always try and design in a way that does feel timeless as well. We don't want people to sort of tire of their homes. We want them to feel comfortable, enjoy them for many years, but also think about practicality as well, which is always really important. That's always at the sort of forefront of our minds when we are designing as well. Look good, feel good, but also practical and functional. So trends, we do use them, and you do see them in show homes as well to create something really memorable. But we want to create something that is timeless, and then you can update small things, whether it's styling through maybe cushions, rugs, accessories. But we don't tend to put trends throughout somebody's whole design, just because we don't want them to tire of the space.
Great advice there. And what would you say is the difference between doing it yourself versus, employing an interior designer?
I think number one would be stress level.
Yeah.
To be honest. So
we take that on for you.
Yeah, we onboard that. So we have very carefully curated relationships with, contractors and upholsterers and companies and suppliers. So we have that skill set and that knowledge base to be able to alleviate that stress. So a lot of the time you might find people buying from overseas, so they're buying off plan, they haven't necessarily seen the plot. We can be the boots on the ground that go and see it for them, take the key measurements, advise on the spatial planning and the ergonomics, and then we also have the backup of softwares where we can really help create that vision, so it's very tangible what they're getting, as opposed to when you're trying to do it yourself. And we've all been there where we're trying to build furniture, or maybe you bought something that's a little bit too big for your doorway and you're just ultimately stuck with a headache. So it's alleviating that stress of making sure your end result is ultimately the vision and what you're looking to achieve.
I often find whenever I go into show homes and you've got like a beautiful piece of furniture and it just fits perfectly, doesn't it? And I guess if you are kitting out a room and you do lack that imagination, it's great where you come in. Now, well-being, we hear about that all the time, but is there any truth that sort of colour, lighting, can affect your mood, that sort of feng shui of a home?
Well, as we were kind of talking about before, as well as the colour, the lighting, all of that, the layout is also a really important factor of that sort of well-being and promoting that positive well-being. You want to be able to use the space. You don't want it to be cluttered, opening your cupboard doors, things like that we really take into the consideration. And then, colour tones, starting with that neutral but warming base palette and building from there. Nothing too sort of brash, again, that you're going to tire of, or don't feel calm and relaxed. But then equally, if it is a space in somebody's house where maybe it's a snug room where they want it to feel really cosy, they don't mind if it's got some richer, darker tones. All of those things, we're really interested to know how they're going to use the space, who's living there, who's going to enjoy it, and then we sort of build from there, and these things can promote our well-being. And
and I know that you can also look at location. So if you've got a riverside home or something that's sort of more urban, city, you can actually tap into sort of the style or vibe of the area. But where do you start?
Base build, usually. So a lot of the time we work very early on with developers, so we can see the visualizations, the models and things of what they're aiming towards and why they've incorporated, that fascia on the building or that style of apartment. Then we'll start spreading out to look at the area. So across our team of designers, we're in all pockets of London and outer London, and we do have the knowledge base between us to know, I've lived there, or I might have seen that place gentrify. And it's about really digging deep and finding out what we can do to make that unique. So whether it's we include a local artist or, like you said, riverside living, how do we incorporate that thread through the show apartment or the client's apartment, because ultimately that's why they're buying there. So it's a lot of research a lot of the time, both with the client as an individual and then the development they bought into. We're working out why they've bought there, what excites them, what's exciting about that development itself as well, and making sure we acknowledge that, because it's really important.
Yeah. And obviously one of the biggest things is budget, and working out what budget it is that you've got to work with. How do you go about sort of discussing your budget with your customers, and specifically someone who is working to a particularly tight budget? What advice would you give?
I think be realistic at the beginning, and what is most important. you want to invest in the key pieces, things that are important, your sofa, your bed, things like that. You don't want to start looking at cushions and styling. Really, you want to think about the things that are important to you, and invest in those things, and then you can kind of build from there. So for us, when we're working with somebody, that's really important to understand. If something wants to come at a later date, or maybe they want to look at artwork themselves, because they're not sure what they want at that moment. But yeah, it's being realistic. It's open communication. It's sort of
invest in your key items as well. I think so. Things like you need that comfy sofa.
Yeah,
you
really
need
do.
that comfortable bed. Go and test things. Go and there's so many showrooms across London. Go and jump on a mattress and see if it suits you. Because there's nothing worse than getting something home and deciding, I don't quite like it. It's not quite comfortable. It's sort of the wrong decision. So again, that's where we come in. We make sure that we're asking the questions of what are you used to, what do you like at home, what do you want us to avoid, and we can then tailor towards that. But yeah, if you're on a budget, just go and see everything. Go and see what you like, and then try to find that common theme and thread of, I've noticed I like that style of sofa in 3 different shops, therefore that's probably what I'm magnetised towards.
And where can you find good furniture for a reasonable price?
So, I mean, there's an array of second-hand, I would always say, is a great shout. Especially you can find pieces that are hardly ever been used. So you can find some of the design classics that you can pick up for next to nothing. You can have things upcycled, re-upholstered to bring them back to life, to bring them to new. We try and avoid kind of those real fast trends that you just know a piece is not going to last. So it's again keeping your eyes peeled. There are websites as well that resell pieces that are really great quality, and just maybe doing a little bit of research into the initial design of that piece.
Great shout.
But yeah, you find pieces all over, don't you?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's just become more accessible, which is great.
And equally, where's the best place to go to find those more unique, bespoke finds?
So things like Kempton Market. So
okay,
second-hand shops, antique shops, that's where you find the real unique pieces. Also local craft fairs and markets. Again, London is amazing for picking up something either that's local, a local artist has created, that's a one-off piece that you can really treasure and will last that lifetime, and you can really enjoy. But it's just literally scouring, kind of keeping an eye out for different...
Not rushing into buying something immediately, keeping a lookout. And as you were saying, if there is a common thread between the things that you're liking, go and hunt further for those types of things.
I mean, this is the fun bit, right? People should be really excited about kitting out their homes, but it's at a time usually when they're going through quite a stressful process with lawyers and applying for mortgages. So what advice could you give to someone to alleviate the stress of what should be really exciting?
I think it's kind of similar to investing in the key pieces. It's think about the really important things first, the things that you're not going to be able to live without straight away. You need a bed straight away. Make sure that that's sorted. But also things like if you are planning to bring anything with you, if you've got anything existing, to really make sure that that's actually going to work in the new space, because that's just an extra headache that you don't need. If it's not going to work, it's not going to fit, then you need to get rid. But yeah, anything that you're bringing with you, and that you already love, how you're going to incorporate that into the new space. So when you're thinking about new things, making sure that that's in your mind as well. But yeah, prioritise. Maybe if you can get some things done before you move in, if there's any sort of messy work, try and get that out of the way. You're probably going to need curtains pretty soon. So have a think about things like that, like the really vital things first. But then that's also where sort of working with a designer, you look at everything together and make sure that we've got that timeline. So that's something that we're always looking at, is our timelines and how a sort of project runs, and that can obviously alleviate that stress off somebody.
And it's really important as well for listeners to also remember, don't get stuff delivered before you've completed.
No, that must be not there.
Yeah, we've seen that quite a few times. But let's talk about some of the projects that you've been working on. So I know that you've created some beautiful displays at 19 Elms in Zone 1. Talk us through a bit about that design. And I think if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll be able to see some of the images from that development.
Yeah, so that was a really exciting one for us. Obviously, 9 Elms itself, massive gentrification sort of project. It's been going on, I remember it, a decade or so ago when it started going up. So having some involvement with So Resi was a really great opportunity for us. We were tasked with creating a space that was for maybe first-time buyers, the younger demographic, maybe a couple moving into this 2-bed, with an amazing view. You've got the river, you've got buzzing sort of Vauxhall and 9 Elms, you've got the linear park that's going in as well.
It's a great location.
It is, it really is sort of right in the epitome and peak of it all. So we wanted to create something that was vibrant, interesting, stylish. We used, started from the base, we kind of used wallpapers that had some graphic prints and bold that were new out as well, so wouldn't necessarily have been seen. And made sure we wove in kind of the idea of the riverside living, so you'll see that in some of the photography that we used in the artwork, the colours as well. Ultimately just wanted that kind of city slicker living and just incorporating clever detailing. So it's another thing we really sort of pride ourselves on is things that people might not think about. So wrapping the back of the sofa, for example, because it went out to the winter garden, so knowing you're going to see that sofa from all angles, just creating that interest in that special piece. And then using the winter garden as a work from home space, so it had probably the best views of the apartment looking outwards. So where does someone spend most of their day? At their desk, working. So ensuring we maximised the winter garden as well, just to really create an interesting and very unique scheme for So Resi.
Yeah, and one thing I've learnt since our conversations is that if someone comes to view one of these show homes and you see a piece that you fall in love with, you can actually speak to a sales consultant and order the item. How does that work, or is it as simple as that?
Pretty much. Yeah. They just then pass it back to us, and we can help organise that. A lot of, as sort of Freya was saying, a lot of items like that are bespoke created, so we can have it made to measure, altered to fit in different fabrics and designs, to make it work.
Amazing. And are there any other exciting projects that you can share that you're working on at the moment?
So at Huntingdon as well, so we're working with So Resi on creating a scheme for a 3-bedroom property, show home property there, which is really exciting.
And just so our listeners are aware, So Resi Huntingdon, I have to say I'm quite excited about this development. It's a mixture of both shared ownership and rent-to-buy homes. So it's a So Resi and a So Flexi development. Now, the reason why I'm so excited about this is because there aren't enough houses in shared ownership. And this development consists of 2, 3 and 4-bedroom houses with gardens, and they've got electrical EV sockets. So it's going to be a great scheme. So definitely one to look out for. I've got to ask this. Have you ever worked with any celebrities or anything you can share there?
We can't say.
I thought that would be the answer. And what I'm really curious as well, what happens if you don't quite agree with someone's style? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, and it happens a lot. Like, everybody's got their own personal tastes, preferences, styles, but we're there to sort of we're there to understand what their preferences and styles is, but also sort of lead them to a direction to make sure it works for the property and for how they want to use the space. It's not so much about what we want. We're not going to live there. And that's something that I know at Vesta, we don't have one particular style. We work with lots of different styles.
And sometimes it, pleasantly surprises. You're like, okay, that's, wouldn't have necessarily advised that fabric with that material, but actually, you know, when you see a client walk in and you're showing them around and what you've put in situ and they're really happy with it, it's sort of that's where we get the
huge satisfaction.
Yeah, from what we've done, and just to know they're pleased with it.
And is there anything specific that you can see trending at the moment?
There's certain things I think that will never go away. So things like boucle still seems to be really on trend. It's kind of works similarly to fashion, so it might start in the high-end market and then trickle down into more high street. You've got things like Pantone Colour of the Year, so obviously every year Pantone releases the colour, which you'll then see splashed across a lot of interiors. Neutral, I don't think, even though some people try to swing away from it and go more maximalist, it always seems to swing back towards neutral for a lot of buyers and clients, but it's sort of ever changing what the trends are. A lot of upcycling still, DIY as well, as things again become more in reach. So people just, you know, are trying different things for their spaces. So
if someone came to you with an item that they wanted to have upcycled, is that something you can support them with as well?
It's not necessarily. I mean, we could try to sort of point them in the right direction. We can have things upholstered, for example, so give a sofa a new lease of life. But if it was more of, I mean, yeah, thinking about it actually, not to say no, we couldn't. We do obviously have the contractors and things. Sometimes you can find it's a bit of a can of worms, so you know you have to prep certain items and sand them down, and you don't want to cause damage. So there's a little bit of risk involved, but it's piece by piece. It depends what we're working with. You know, we've sent sometimes the sofa that's the innards are falling apart, and we've sent them off to go, oh, can you please template from this, which the upholsterers are happy to do, but it is interesting.
Excellent. And have you got, what would you say is the best tip that you could give somebody who's looking to deck out their home?
Measure. Measure your space.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than if your item's not going to fit through your door.
Yeah, I can imagine that can go very wrong.
Yeah. Also like corner sofas even. Make sure you're getting the shades on the right side of the room. You don't want to have picked the wrong side. Just really looking at the space. It is in the details on things like that.
Yeah. And quite a good tip is to take masking tape, draw it up on the floor, because you'd be surprised how you visually think, oh yeah, that fits, that's fine. But when you start putting out the actual diameters, the depth of the sofa, how big the wide the coffee table is, and you see it all in front of you on the floor, it can look very different, but it does give a really good flavour as to, you know, the ergonomics, how much space you've got to walk around, because technically your furniture might fit, but it might feel too overwhelming for the space. So that's another thing we always have to be very vested in and carefully consider, is how that furniture is interacting with the space and with, you know, the base build and the room size as well.
That's a great tip. I'll have to remember that one. And where is it that we can find your work?
Well, on Instagram, on our website as well. Probably the best places to look.
Yeah.
We've got lots of portfolios on there, both Vesta and Investa.
Okay, what's your website? Just for anyone listening.
Yeah. So it's www.vesta, which is vesta-london.co.uk.
Fab. And just for the listeners, anyone who is interested in the Resi Huntingdon that we'd mentioned, you can find more information about those homes on sharedownership.co.uk. Now, I'm just going to end this with a bit more of a fun question, really, because we've talked about trends through the ages. Would you say that there is a particular decade that resonates more with you? I've got one. So I absolutely love the 50s. I'm a Doris Day fan, and anything about the 50s I love. But is your heart in a particular decade? What would you say?
Yes. So the team kind of always jokes with me on this, but I love sort of a 70s shag pad, is what I call it. Okay. So bring back the sunken living room. Which you don't really see in the UK, which I think is a shame. But I love that whole kind of laid-back 70s Cali style. So my next place, there's going to be a lot of that featured, to be honest.
Love it.
But yeah, I would say definitely.
Excellent.
I think Freya's quite out there with that one, but yeah. No, I think I lean more towards like the mid-century feel, relaxed, Quite considered though. Yeah, I love the natural woods of it, but then there's some really cool striking details in it as well, unique pieces, kind of an art form, some of the pieces themselves as well, really sculptural. Yeah.
That's where you find some amazing buys as well. When you start looking at like mid-century furniture, you can get the kind of the original items, and you know the Urkel and things that are really well made, and they do suit a lot of style of property as well.
So totally different vibes there.
Yes. Yeah.
Your house for the party and your house to chill out after.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm certainly feeling inspired. I now know that there's rooms in my house that I'm going to have to go and have a look at now. But thank you so much. And thanks to our listeners. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we love hearing your feedback, and we're always here to answer your questions. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast. Until next time, this is So in the Know.